Thank you all for joining us. My name is Chris Glover. I'm the MPP for Spadina-Fort York. I'm sorry we're a couple minutes late starting. We had a few technical difficulties. The purpose of this meeting is to give you some information and I provide an opportunity for you to ask questions and provide some feedback to Metrolinx about the Ontario line. The Ontario line plans have been released. It's on there. There's some information on their website. But they are also doing public consultations, and this is one of the public consultations. So we've got two meetings with them today. This noon hour meeting, we're directing it largely towards businesses. We're looking at, what are the construction impacts going to be and and it's an opportunity for businesses to give some feedback to Metrolinx about how to mitigate some of the impacts of this, the construction impacts on businesses. And then tonight is more for residents, but there will be overlap, and I've got already a list of a number of questions that people have sent beforehand. We'll be trying to get through them as many of those as we can. So let's get to it. We've got Josh Van de Zand from Metrolinx, who will introduce the team from Metrolinx who will be doing the presentation. It's about 20 to 25 minutes, the presentation. And then after that, we'll be going through the questions that you are sending in. If you have a question, you can put it in the comments section of whatever platform you're watching. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, you can put your question in the comments section and it will be forwarded to us here, and we will try to get to as many questions as possible. So Josh, over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, MPP Glover, and welcome to everybody. We're really excited to be together with you. It's raining outside my window in downtown Toronto, so one of the advantages of doing these kinds of things virtually is we get to stay dry. One of the disadvantages, we don't get to see you in person, and obviously we would prefer that, but we hope everybody is staying safe during these continuing unusual times. We're really grateful that you took time out of your day to meet with us. I'm going to introduce a couple people that are joining me today. You should be able to see their smiling faces on the screen. So James Francis is on the Ontario Line environmental team, and Malcolm Mackay is the Ontario Line sponsor. And I'm going to turn it over to Malcolm to get started.
Super. Thank you very much, MPP Glover. Thank you for inviting us to present at this meeting. We really appreciate the opportunity to be speaking to your constituents. So the Ontario Line, what is it? There's a lot of people that haven't heard of the Ontario Line. And we did have some public information sessions that were in January and February of this year before the COVID situation took hold. And at those meetings, we had very good turnout, and a lot of the comments have been worked into the design that's been evolving since then. What is the Ontario Line? It's a 15.5-kilometer subway. It has 15 stations. We're actually projecting very high ridership in the order of almost 400,000 daily boardings. Almost every station has a great connectivity to the surface transit network, and we are designing the system to operate as frequently as 90 seconds. We don't expect it to be operating at 90 seconds from day one, but the ability to match the capacity 40 or 50 years from now is being built into the plans that we're putting forward currently. Go to the next slide. The Ontario Line runs from Exhibition Ontario Place all the way through to the Science Centre. There's interchanges with Osgood and Queen at line 1, Ape at line 2, and Science Centre on the Eglinton Crosstown. At East Harbour and Exhibition, we also have an interchange with the GO trains to provide an alternative to going through Union Station. We've just recently released public information on our websites. We've broken it into 4 parts. There's the west, the downtown, the east, and the north. And this is probably a good time for us to talk about our public consultation and our briefings. Josh, perhaps you'd just like to talk to that.
Sure. So like Malcolm said, the website, has been our primary vehicle for getting information out to people, and we were excited to release the latest. It's always challenging in a project like this because there's a lot of work that has to happen in the background. By our engineering and design teams before we can share it with the public. But we factored in a lot of what we heard from the open houses in January and February, posted that information online on our website starting a few weeks ago, and are now going through and just concluding some meetings with elected officials and just beginning some more of the public meetings. This is actually our first of what we hope are many open public meetings, and we're really grateful to MPP Glover and his staff for hosting us. We're also looking forward to opening a couple community offices, hopefully by the end of 2020. And that'll give us a chance to talk with people in various neighborhoods along the alignment and answer questions and keep you updated as the project progresses.
Thank you, Josh. We could go to the next slide. So some of the benefits associated with the Ontario line. One of the primary benefits of the Ontario line is the relief to Line 1. Line 1 is very congested, especially south of Yonge and Bloor and the Yonge Bloor station itself. We're anticipating a significant reduction of almost 19% at Yonge Bloor station. We're also projecting significant congestion relief at Union Station, as well as the Line 1 interface up at Eglinton Station. We're also building the Ontario line into some new communities, Thorncliffe Park and Flemington Park, which are priority communities for us to get higher order transit into, so that the travel times to their places of work or entertainment and back home, it will be cut almost in half, which is a true benefit to the customers that we'll be serving. Next slide, Josh. So we're breaking the project up into three very large contracts. The first is the Rolling Stock Systems Operations and Maintenance contract, which we call the ROSM contract. It's a design, build, operate, maintain contract. They're going to be responsible for installing the systems, the vehicles, the maintenance and storage facility, the control systems, the control room, and then they'll have a 30-year concession operating and maintaining the Ontario line. The rest of the project is broken up into very big civil stations and tunnels contract. The South Civils and Stations contract runs from Exhibition through to around the Don River and includes the entire downtown section. And then the rest of it goes from the Don River all the way up to Ontario Science Centre, where they will build the above grade and below grade stations and running track. There's a number of early works contracts that we're undertaking to enable those very large contracts. One being at Exhibition, where there's a very strong interface with GO Transit in the corridor. The second is the Lower Don Bridges, which is a very busy, congested area. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of utilities involved. There's the Gardner replacement, all happening in and around the same time. So there's quite a level of effort and coordination required in this area. And you'll see that we're planning to build two very signature type bridges over the Don Valley Parkway and the Don River. That will be a gateway into the city. And then there's the above grade shared corridor with GO Transit, which is a 6-track configuration that runs effectively from East Harbour Station all the way up to Gerrard Station. Next slide. So the timing of our work, we've already gone out and issued requests for qualifications, or RFQs, for the South Civils Stations and Tunnels contract, as well as our ROSM contract. We've received those responses and we're currently evaluating them. We're expecting later this year to be able to issue the RFPs, or request for proposals, for the South Civils and Rossum. And then it takes about a year to a year and a quarter for the proponents to do their engineering and do their work to be able to respond to these very complex contracts that we're issuing. And we're expecting to award those and begin work in mid-2022. At the same time, in 2022, we'll also be issuing the North Civils stations and tunnels contracts. We have a whole host of environmental assessment work that is ongoing that James Francis will speak to. And throughout this entire process going forward, we'll be issuing documents on the websites, conducting meetings like this, briefing elected officials and community groups. So our public engagement is ongoing throughout the life of the project going forward. Next slide. So the trains that we're going to be purchasing, they're going to be new technology. It's called a GOA4 automation, which is grade of automation 4, which is unattended vehicles. These vehicles are going to be up to 100 meters in length. And because they're traveling at 90-second intervals, means that we can use shorter trains. Conventionally, a TTC subway train is 150 meters long, but they can't travel at 90-second intervals. The benefits associated with these trains is that they're completely automated, which means the stopping and starting points are very accurate. And actually coming into the stations, the stopping and acceleration out of the station is very controlled and programmed to ensure a smooth, comfortable ride for our customers and a quiet ride and for the community that we're going to be going through. The entire program allows us to come in and out of the ground on slightly steeper curves, which mean that enables us to come out up in Thorncliffe Park, as well as along the shared corridor. Next slide, Josh. I'm going to pass this over to James Francis now, and he'll talk about the environmental reports that are currently out for comment.
Thanks, Malcolm. So as Malcolm mentioned, we currently have our first round of environmental reports out for public review and comment. This report it's the draft environmental conditions report. So in this report, we look at existing conditions for the environment across the entire Ontario line study area, so tip to tail from the Science Centre to Exhibition. And we're looking at a variety of aspects of the environment, including archaeology, cultural heritage, noise and vibration, the natural environment, socioeconomics and land use, air quality, traffic and transportation, and soil and groundwater. So very much seeking your review and any feedback that you may have on this report. It's on our website. And once we digest the comments we receive, we'll be updating the report and posting the final report on our website for review. Looking ahead, as Malcolm mentioned, we are planning early works at Exhibition Station, the Lower Don Bridges, and along the Joint Corridor, and we'll be undertaking an impact assessment looking at the environmental impacts of those specific works and sharing that for public review and comment in a draft early works report. We anticipate sharing those later this year. We'll also be undertaking an environmental impact assessment report for the entire line from Exhibition to Science Centre, looking at the impacts of construction and operation of the project, and then committing to mitigation to reduce or minimize those impacts on the various aspects of the environment that we study. And we anticipate having that report available for public review and comment next year.
Next slide. Thank you, James. So what we're going to do is have a fairly bespoke presentation running through the downtown and the west corridors. And if at any time MPP Glover, you would like to ask site-specific questions, please chime in at any time. So if this section runs from Exhibition to Queen and Spadina, and we've modified the alignment a little bit through this area to have a more direct route, fewer curves, and a faster trip to downtown. We go to the next slide. This is exhibition. One of the areas that we're quite excited about is to bring higher order transit down into the Liberty Village area. And the exhibition station will have direct access to Liberty Village. We're coordinating well with the city and TTC to build the new Liberty Street, which has an environmental assessment completed. This station will also interface with GO Transit and the GO operations to provide an alternative to get downtown without going through Union Station. As well, it'll be a destination for access to the exhibition, all the amenities that are at the exhibition, as well as Ontario Place. Next slide, Josh. So in order to launch a tunnel boring machine, we need to dig a hole in the ground and drop the tunnel boring machines into those holes and then progress. One of the places that we're intending to begin the tunneling from is Ordinance Park. We're going to occupy that park for a period of time. We're going to try and maintain as much of it as we can, but it is a fairly large operation launching a tunnel boring machine. These tunnel boring machines from here, and there will be 2 of them, will go towards downtown and towards the Queen Station. When we're done here, everything will get filled back in, and we'll return the park back to the city to develop the programming spaces in this area. Next slide. As we move further along east, we're crossing King and Bathurst on a diagonal. We've done this to preserve some of the heritage buildings in the area, like the Wheat Sheaf, the oldest operating pub in Toronto. And from here, we're going to be continuing east, but this station we're going to be mining, so the operations of the King Street and Bathurst streetcars is expected to be unaffected by our operation. Next slide.
Actually, I've got a couple questions about exhibition stations, so maybe we'll just take them while you're there. The one is, where exactly will it be located? And what will it look like in terms of size and accessibility? And why are there, and the final question on that is, why are there no stops between Exhibition Place and King Street? Wouldn't it make sense to have a stop that serves the Fort York City Place area?
Okay. So first off, we're building the station on the north side of the existing GO corridor. The intent here is to have a through pass that will allow community members up in Liberty Village to use the subway station to get to exhibition, get to BMO Field or Ontario Place or any of the amenities at exhibition. It will be accessible in the sense that we'll have redundant elevators for accessibility at all times available, and as well as stairs and escalators. Your question regarding an interstitial site or station around the Fort York area, we try to space our stations at certain intervals that make sense. It's a challenge when you have stations that are too closely spaced, and we do have a few that are closer than we would like. And they're primarily downtown at the Osgood and Queen stations. That's not an ideal distance for us because of the acceleration and deceleration of the vehicles. It really affects our ability to maintain headways properly when we have that. So what we did was, when we evaluated the areas, we wanted to, number one, serve neighborhoods. Number two, we also wanted to have good connectivity with the existing surface transit network. So at the King Bathurst, we do pick up both the Bathurst and the King streetcars, and that'll be very beneficial to the crowding that's currently experienced on both of those. but the opportunity for us to add an additional underground station is really we didn't feel that it was going to be well served. We'd be better served with the locations that we have, and they're quite pricey. Stations are the most expensive component of the subway build. They come in anywhere from $250 to $350 million each. So you do want to cite them very carefully and not install too many.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we can go back, Josh. So as we go further east, we come back up to Queen Street. The Queen and Spadina station, as I was saying before, has excellent connectivity with the surface transit network. And the goal here is to take what is a very busy Queen Street streetcar and make it a little bit lighter, going east and west from here. Also, the Spadina, it's an alternative to get downtown. This station also will be a mine station, so both Spadina and Queen Street streetcars won't be affected by the construction. Next slide. So as we go into the downtown section, this runs from Osgood all the way down to the Don Yard, and is a downtown component. It's a tunneled construction in a very dense neighborhood, as was the West. Next slide, Josh. Osgood Station looks a lot like the Relief Line South station, except that we've moved it a little further to the west. And in doing so, we're now straddling Line 1, which makes the connectivity much better between Line 1 and the new Ontario line. We're building two new entrances, one on the corner, the northeast corner, near Osgood, and one on the southwest corner near Simcoe Street. Next slide. This is Queen Station. Similarly, Queen Station was a little further west. We've moved it during the design evolution a little further east to again straddle Line 1 at Queen Station to create connectivity to virtually every corner here. This is also a very important station for us because it has great connectivity to the PATH network, which will allow people to get to their places of employment much easier.
So Malcolm, in the last time I had this briefing, you were talking that Queen Station, there's a GO station under Queen Street that was designed for this, and that you're actually going to be utilizing that GO station. Is that accurate? No? Is that still in the plans?
It's actually not a GO station. It's a TTC streetcar station.
Mm-hmm.
So there was aspirations long ago that the Queen Street streetcar might go underground in this location. And there's infrastructure that's built there, and we're going to be tying into that in order to get underneath Line 1 to both platforms on the east and west side of the existing Queen Station. So we're absolutely going to be utilizing the infrastructure that's there for our benefit.
Okay, thank you.
As we move a little further east, we come to Moss Park. Here, we're moving the construction out of Queen Street, and we're going to be doing it in a open cut format. We're going to have an entrance on the corner of Sherbourne and Queen Street. The reason we moved it out of the park is we're trying to minimize the impact to the road network of this construction, because we are constructing this across the entire city, 15.5 kilometers, 15 stations. Is a lot of work to be executing in the same period of time. This is a very important station because it also serves priority neighborhoods north of here. Next slide. Then as we turn south, we come to Cork Town Station. Just so you know, the naming convention right now of the station is they're called working names. and they're representative only. We go through quite a process with community engagement, as well as the TTC and Metrolinx to develop the final names of the stations, which we'll be doing in the next year. This station, we also moved out of the Berkeley Street road allowance into a development site. This site is also exciting because just south of this station, there's a property called the First Parliament site. It was the home to the first Parliament, which got burnt down, the second Parliament, which was the replacement. It was also home to a jail, and then after that, a very large consumers gas plant. And before that, before any of that was built, it was the home to the First Nations people. So we're going to be doing a very extensive archaeological investigation of these lands, which are just south of the station. We're eventually going to use that site to launch tunnel boring machines that will go north and west towards the downtown. And we're doing this to be able to deliver the subway as quickly as we possibly can. Next slide. As we turn and come down towards the Don Yard is a staging yard for GO Transit. This is where the underground subway will emerge through a set of portals, which are concrete boxes that the subway trains will come out of, to the elevated at grade alignment that goes across the Don River and continues north, eventually up to Gerrard, where it goes back underground again. Next slide. This is when we would love to hear your thoughts and questions, MPP Glover.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you very much for that, Malcolm, and thank you, Josh and James. So we've got a number of questions here. Let's see, let's start with construction impacts. How will construction along King Street east of Berkeley, how will that take place? You know, what impacts will it have on the local community and businesses? And what measures are you taking to minimize the impacts on some of the main streets and the businesses there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we've actually moved and relocated the station box specifically to not impact King Street, not impact Berkeley Street, not impact Front Street, and maintain the traffic movements there. We're capturing enough land in this area to be able to stage effectively the construction. So, you know, with our eye on that construction point of view, we are mitigating early the impacts that large-scale construction like this can have to a community. It also means that the King Street streetcar will continue to operate throughout the entire construction period. This is also an important station because it also intercepts the King Street streetcar on the east end of the city to allow customers an alternative to riding the very congested King streetcar.
The other question is about construction impacts on the condo towers. So you're going to be tunneling under a number of residences of all types across the route of this through the riding. And people are wondering about, you know, what impact that will have on them. Will there be vibration noises in the houses, in the condos, etc.?
Okay, I can speak to that. I'm going to talk about the geology of Toronto. So between the surface of the ground and the top of bedrock is a layer of sandy, silty soils. And then there's a layer of shale that continues very deep below that. The tunneling operation, when the proponents are looking at, will either be shallow in the sandy materials or deep in the shale materials. You would never run halfway between the two because it's very hard on the equipment to have a very hard substrate on the bottom half of your machine and a soft soil on the top. What we've evaluated is that the interferences associated with the shallow tunnel boring, as well as the potential for settlement and those things, that we're very likely going to be a very deep, reasonably deep tunnel operation entirely in shale. That means entirely in very competent rock. That in and of itself helps mitigate, just through distance, noise and vibration, but also the tunneling operation through a homogeneous medium like shale is very fast and effective. So when we approach a building, we're again in competent materials. There will be a slight rumbling that occurs for a number of days as the machine passes underneath. But these machines are advancing at rates sometimes up to 22 meters a day. And it doesn't take long for that machine to pass and you're back to an ambient condition. In our final build, being deep and with the vibration mitigation measures and noise mitigation measures that are available with the new technologies, i.e. Vibration pads to isolate the track, and then the equipment being brand new. I'll describe it, as a train pulls into a station, currently they apply the brakes. There's a regenerative type braking on the newer equipment that means that they actually generate electricity as they're trying to slow down into the station. And the braking is only used for the last 3% of the stopping process. So that in and of itself eliminates noise, and it also means the maintenance of the equipment is much less. So the constructability, we're deep through this entire area, and it will be carefully managed and monitored. We're not expecting any settlement conditions because we're in the competent materials. And then the final operating condition, we're expecting there to be virtually no change whatsoever to the conditions that people have today.
Let's see, I've got a couple of other questions here. One is around the trucking. So if you're boring 22 meters a day, which is an incredible rate, there's going to be a lot of trucks going back, and we've got a lot of construction projects already underway and planned in this riding. So how do you navigate like all the trucks coming in and out?
Yeah, so the city has a website where we all coordinate all of our work, and the website has all the projects listed, lists the duration of the project, and then when we're modeling the traffic impacts of the truck movements, we know we have an assumed rate of production. We know how much material is going to be coming out. We know how the material is going to be potentially leaving. We model all that to make sure that the city, in fact, works during that exercise of trucking the materials out of the city.
Okay, and the next question is about, there's actually two questions around schools. The first one is around Market Lane Public School, and there's actually two other schools along the Esplanade there. And they're concerned that the green space along the Esplanade is the play space for the children in those schools. Will this, have you considered it? Will the construction have an impact on the play space along the Esplanade for those schools?
Yeah, we are not expecting to have any impact on the play space along the Esplanade. Naturally, we write into our project-specific output specifications, specific rules around engagement with communities and protecting communities and ensuring that our operations and the contractor's operations fit into the community as best we can. So okay. We're very cognizant of those areas.
Okay, and the other questions it's around OCAD. I'm curious how the question reads, I'm curious how construction will impact student and staff ability to move around the different buildings on the OCAD campus. And actually, I might as well add to that the Ryerson campus, because you're going to be passing through the Ryerson campus as well.
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. The construction that we're having in those areas, we're not expecting to have any impact to them in their operations. We're either far enough away, or B, have moved out of the alignment so that most of the impact is being experienced out of the roadway. And that's our plan. And it's well thought out from that point of view to minimize the construction impacts during construction.
And the next question is around timelines. What do you expect construction to, when do you expect construction to be completed in the best case scenario and in the worst case scenario?
So the construction, the early works contracts, they're going to be starting in 2021. And I describe those as being exhibition, the bridges over the lower Don River, as well as the joint corridor. The big projects will be enabled and start construction in late 2022, early 2023, and it will continue to the completion. We're anticipating the completion of the project. We're forecasting no earlier than 2027. But during the tendering process, we really do challenge our contractors to come up with the most efficient, best schedule that they can. And we'll coordinate both the ROSM, the South Civils, and North Civils contracts to achieve the earliest opening that we possibly can, because we know Toronto's starved for higher order transit.
Okay. Let's see, the other one is around timelines. There's a history of projects being canceled by subsequent governments. I mean, this is partly a political question, so I may try to answer this as well. Let's see, to prevent this, severe penalties were included in the Highway 407 contract. Will there be severe penalties for cancellation of this built into the contracts?
So they're currently writing the contracts now, and I'm not sure we haven't finalized what the penalties are going to be. This is a project that is endorsed provincially. It's endorsed municipally. It looks a lot like the Relief Line South, which was endorsed also. And it's longer. It has a greater extent than the Relief Line South did. So we're hoping that the ambition associated with the Ontario line will continue, and we'll be able to deliver higher order transit to Toronto.
Let's see, the other question is about the impact around the King and Bathurst community. Actually, maybe I should go back and just address the political nature of that the last question. And that is, as a resident of Toronto for the last 40 years, it's been incredibly frustrating that we start transit projects and then we don't complete them. It's absolutely necessary that we get things finished. I mean, we had a subway started along Eglinton Avenue in 1995, and we could have used it. I think the cost-benefit analysis of traffic congestion versus completing that one. We've spent far more in not completing that transit project. The transit project that was the entire transit city plan that was before the city in 2010 was a very good plan. A lot of it would be complete. So the person who wrote this question, you're right to be asking about political interference. And my personal view is that the politicians should set the parameters. They should say to the transit planners, we want to move the most people for the least amount of money. Give us a plan, and then step back and let them do it, rather than all this political interference, because it ends up costing a lot of money and a lot of delays. And it's incredibly frustrating. And it's not just costing the money during the project, it's costing money because traffic congestion. And the last number I heard was that it costs the city of Toronto like $6 billion a year in traffic congestion, just because it's so hard to get people in and out of the city. Anyways, but now back over, that's the political answer to that question. But let's go back to the Metrolinx. You guys, your role is to take the parameters that are given by the government and to build this project on time and on budget. So The other concern is around the construction impacts. I know that you mentioned that you're rebuilding a couple of stations along Queen Street, and then there's a couple of new ones being built. How long will the concerns, and it's I've got a couple of different questions here. How long will those streets be closed? And what will be, because that will affect the local businesses.
Right. So at King and Bathurst, we're not anticipating street closures. We're intending to use a form of construction in this neighborhood, which is called SEM, which is sequential excavation method, which is mining underground. So it means that there's no big open cut here. There'll be where the station entrance is going to be, the way that they get in and out of the station for that work, which really minimizes the impact to the community associated with building this station in particular. If we go to Queen and Spadina, the exact same story here. It's a sequential excavation method, mined construction, so there won't be the big open cut, and it protects, again, the neighborhoods. It protects the surface transit network. It protects the traffic in the area.
And then the final question that we'll take here is from the East End, and it's the railway corridor on the East End that eventually feeds into Union Station. And it's the addition of a set of tracks on the north side of the existing tracks, which will be in close proximity to some of the buildings that are there, the residential buildings. And there was a plan from Go Transit that was eventually abandoned to build what they were going to call a zero track there. And they were going to have noise abatement measures for those residences. Do you see, is there going to be an impact? Will this new track be close to existing residences, and what noise abatement measures will be taken to, address some of the concerns that the residents have?
Right. So a couple of things. You're talking about the construction in the Don Yard area. Coming into the Don Yard, we're underground, and then we emerge through the portal. The portal is immediately adjacent to the existing 4-track corridor. And so it's quite close. On the north side, there's the Richmond Hill line that separates us from the neighborhood there. So our proximity to the neighborhood is relatively distant, and we're electrically operated. So we don't have large diesel locomotives, which are soon to disappear also with Go Transit. But our running noise is much lower than the ambient noise that is produced by the existing Go traffic in the corridor.
Okay, so that'll be the final question for now. I want to thank all of you, Malcolm, James, Josh, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for answering the questions. We've got another session tonight, which will be focused largely around residential concerns. So if you didn't get your questions answered now, for the people viewing, you can tune in again tonight at 7 o'clock on the same platforms, and we'll take a whack at getting those other questions answered. And the final thing I'd like to ask Josh, if we do not get through all the questions today, can we submit written questions to you and then post them for the community?
Yeah, please do. We've put our contact information on the screen, but we would welcome receiving questions from the MPP's office as well. It's early days in some ways for this project. There's some things that we have the answer to already, and some things that are still being worked on. But we're happy to engage with folks as you have questions or want to learn more.
Okay. Again, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you for the presentation and answering all the questions, and we'll see you again tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, end it. Okay. Just ending the live stream now.